What you saw a moment ago is a scene that's becoming all too common these days. A sad moment in the life of a young person who believes he or she has become infected with venereal disease. Unfortunately for mankind, venereal disease, mainly in the form of syphilis, has been with us for a long, long time. The ancient Egyptians had a painkiller for gonorrhea. The prescriptions were found on papyrus drawings dating back to 3500 BC. In 1492, Columbus discovered the New World. In 1493, Europeans discovered that they had syphilis, probably brought back by Columbus's sailors. Soon trading vessels were spreading the disease throughout the world. By the 18th century, syphilis was so common it was dictating fashion. Wigs hid loss of hair. Neck clothes hid throat sores. And makeup hid other telltale signs. Venereal disease and its damaging effects may have changed the course of history by infecting the bodies of such world figures as Henry VIII, Ivan the Terrible, and the Chancellor of the Third Reich, Adolf Hitler. Although venereal disease has dealt with dictators, it is really very democratic. It strikes Americans and Russians, rich and poor, young and old, male and female, the good and the bad. This year alone, over 500,000 teenagers will get VD. Except for the common cold, venereal disease is the most rampant communicable disease in the country. But exactly what is venereal disease? What does it do to you? And how do you catch it? As specialist, Dr. Stephen Sachs explains.
In order to understand and really appreciate what we mean by venereal diseases, we must first take some time out to define the terms involved. First, the word venereal. Venereal is derived from the name of the Greek goddess of love, who is Venus. Secondly, what do we mean when we say disease? Well, disease in this sense actually is an infection. It's an infection not unlike the common cold or tuberculosis or measles or mumps for that matter. The only thing that's different from venereal diseases to other diseases is its mode of transmission. What do we mean when we say that venereal diseases may be transmitted through sexual acts? Well, in fact, sexual acts may include anything from kissing to sexual intercourse. Of course, sexual intercourse is the most prominent mode of exposure. Finally, what areas of the body may become infected with venereal diseases? In the male, gonorrhea affects the urinary tract. That is, the urethra, the tube through which a male urinates. In the female, on the other hand, gonorrhea affects the reproductive tract, not the urinary tract. Gonorrhea may also affect the joints of the body in both the male and the female, causing a rather severe arthritis. The infection of syphilis, unlike gonorrhea, is not limited to the urinary tract in the male and the reproductive tract in the female. In fact, the infection of syphilis may occur anywhere on the body, although of course most commonly it occurs on the genital area, the penis, and the vagina. However, once infection occurs, the infection then spreads to all the organs of the body. And this means it spreads to the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, bones, liver, and of course the central nervous system, including the brain and spinal cord.
Well, if you know so much about VD, why can't you do something about preventing it?
Yeah, like polio. It was an epidemic, and they came up with a vaccine so we can't get it.
Unlike polio, the germs that cause VD are very sensitive to light and air, so they're difficult to isolate and study. But don't let that fool you. We know that venereal disease can be effectively and painlessly treated in the early stages. And second, we know the signs that might indicate you have VD.
GONORRHC. How are you going to get out of it? I got it. Oh, no. That's a disease, the word. Oh. Now, let's see. Look. It says here that a girl with gonorrhea may not notice any symptoms at all. But look here. It also says that you may feel severe stomach pain around the menstrual cycle. Well, maybe you don't feel well just because you're upset and scared. You better believe it.
For males, the symptoms of gonorrhea are, of course, different.
Hey, man, bring me the rent. Hey, Jimmy, man, where's your head at? Give me the rent.
Come on, man, get these things out of the way.
Come on now, man, we ain't got all week. Oh, man, I can't pull the plug.
Hey, man, look, I don't feel like messing around with this thing.
It's fine with me, man. They're your wheels.
Man, look, I know this. I got problems. I think I got you glad.
You finally got it, huh? I knew it. No one can get around as much as you do and get off free.
No, but serious. I don't know whether or not I have it. Does either of you guys know for sure?
Yeah, well, I had it once.
Yeah, well, listen, this is funny, but don't laugh. When I go to the bathroom, I get this burning and this stinging pain. Man, that really hurts. What do you think?
Man, you got it. I mean, you got it.
I think he's right. Sounds like it to me.
Are you sure? Oh, man, I gotta check this out.
That's right. You should check it out. Don't rely on what some book says or what a friend thinks. It's just too important. The mental strain of worrying whether you have VD is not worth it. It's just too simple to cure. At this stage, it may involve only taking some pills or getting a few injections. Now let's review the warning signs of gonorrhea. In the male, inflammation of the genitals, a burning or stinging sensation when urinating, and a yellowish discharge from the penis. These symptoms should develop within 10 days after contact with the disease. In the female, the symptoms are less obvious. There may be severe stomach pains around the menstrual period, but keep in mind there may be no outward signs at all. If the venereal disease contacted is syphilis, a sore will develop where the germs entered the body. This will happen to both the male and female within 90 days after contact. The sore is painless and will go away without treatment, but don't let that fool you. It doesn't mean you've gotten rid of it. It only means it's gone underground. Early treatment is the key to curing both these forms of venereal disease. Help can be found at various places. Hospitals, public health centers, free clinics, and private physicians. One of the most important aspects of halting the spread of the disease is to reach all of those who have become infected. You should name those you have had intimate sexual contact with. It's often hard to talk about a sexual experience. But if you care about others, you should see that they get help too.
Well, there were two boys. One was just, just a mistake. But the other boy I really care about. I never want Rick to know about him. Can you promise?
Sure. VD records by law are private. Both boys will be notified that they may have come in contact with VD. We won't say who that contact may have been or how we found out. Your name will never be mentioned.
Well, what about my folks? Will they have to find out?
No, in fact, over half the states permit doctors to treat minors with VD without parental consent.
This guy from the public health department told me that he wouldn't tell my parents. But that I should come in for a checkup, like really soon. Then he really came down on me. He wanted to know who I've been fooling around with.
So what did you tell him?
Well, the more sexual contacts a person has, the more likely he or she is to come in contact with VD. Now, we've all heard stories about VD causing insanity, blindness, heart failure, sterility, and even death. Are these stories true or false? Dr. Sachs gives us the answers.
In order to understand and appreciate the effects of untreated gonorrhea and syphilis, it is really best to remember which parts of the body are affected with these infections. When gonorrhea infects the male urethra, the tube through which the man urinates, it becomes severely inflamed and excruciatingly painful. Now, the result of this inflammation is scarring, and these scars cause narrowing of the urethra and eventual inability to urinate. This inability to urinate, in fact, will cause back pressure on the whole urinary tract, including the bladder and kidneys, with resultant damage of both organs. The female reproductive tract, which is infected with gonorrhea, is also damaged by severe inflammation and scarring. The severe inflammation caused by gonorrhea causes a syndrome much like acute appendicitis about the time of the period. The end result of the acute inflammation and scarring is a very high incidence of abnormal pregnancies, miscarriages, and even sterility. Untreated syphilis, as you will remember, affects all the organs of the body. The resultant damages will include destruction of the heart valves and eventually heart failure, and if the infection affects the central nervous system, the results are paralysis, blindness, insanity, intractable pain, and even death.
It's pretty frightening, huh? Unfortunately, VD has never been considered a topic of open conversation, and because of this, many myths have flourished about it.
VD. A friend of one of my clients had it. I understand he tried to get rid of it, but never could.
Not so. In the early stages, venereal disease can be easily and painlessly cured.
That's certainly not my problem. I never frequent public restrooms.
Sorry, it can be your problem. You don't get that disease from toilet seats, or for that matter, any object. You get it from people.
I've had it, and I took the cure. That's all for me. Now I'll never get it again.
Wrong. No immunity is built up to VD, no matter how many times you've had it. You can get it every time you come in contact with it.
VD? It's not my problem. I take birth control pills. I'm really safe.
Don't count on it. Birth control pills may prevent pregnancy, but they have no effect on venereal disease.
I know guys who had it, but it just goes away.
Dead wrong. It never just goes away. So that's VD, venereal disease. An infection, like any other infection. It's a health problem, not a moral one. It needs treatment, not condemnation. If you have VD or have reason to suspect you've come in contact with it, seek help. It's ignorant and just plain stupid not to.